Hi, my name is Troy Anderson. I'm the owner of Anderson Training Systems, a fitness coaching business based in Tempe, Arizona. What I'm going to do is share with you today a couple quick tips for helping people, but specifically young athletes or athletes in general, learn to use their glutes and hamstrings, or what we call the posterior chain of their body, which is basically this part of their body, to utilize a little bit better. This is specifically shot for a young female athlete recovering from an ACL injury. So here's what we're going to do today is we're going to show you a couple preparatory movements to get the glutes fired up, and then we're going to show you some kind of progressive movements that are going to move on down the line. The first movement here is basically what we call a plank. This is going to be kind of kill two birds with one stone, but I really want you to focus in on what my glutes are doing. It's the really preparatory part of the plank that really makes this get the most bang for its buck. So we're going to start here. Many of you may have done planks or seen planks done before. Elbows underneath shoulders, chest up, good posture, hips flat on the floor. I'm going to curl my toes underneath me. The critical aspect here, and the thing that you have to get your athletes and your clients and everybody to do, is to squeeze and fire these cheeks down. You should see a nice indentation right here where I have my hand in their clothing. There should be a little loosening there. Fire those hips into the ground, squeeze as hard as you can. If they're not squeezing, use some kind of prop or something, or be very appropriately handling them. If they're young athletes, obviously you want to keep their hands off, or females if you're a male coach. You can obviously use some kind of prop or something to give them a little bit of physical cue, but you want to get squeezed there solidly and come up. Once they lose the squeeze at the top, you want them immediately to turn from the mat and then repeat the process. You want them to reset that glute squeeze into the ground. You don't want them to be up off the ground without glute squeeze. So that's a real preparatory, easy way to teach them how to fire the glutes into the ground. It gives them real good feedback. They have something to push their hips into, but it's really squeezing those glutes into the ground. That's the first preparatory movement. Second preparatory movement is what we call single leg reach or single leg deadlift. Opposite hand, opposite leg. My right foot's going to be on the ground. What we want to do in essence, very important today, that you see I am in no shoes. Shoes even like my ACLs, which are pretty nice running shoes, too thick a sole, too soft, really diminishes the proprioception and the nervous system feedback to the foot. It also reduces the force that you can produce. So I'm in bare feet or socks. I'm going to address the kettlebell with it directly in front of the foot I have on the ground. That's going to be my right leg in this instance. My offside leg is actually going to reach back. I'm going to reach towards the bell with this hand. I'm going to show you both sides of this movement. This is not how far I can get down, it's how far I can move well. The movement is initiated from the near side hip. So I'm going to show you what it's going to look like from the offside leg, and I'm going to show you what it's going to look like when the leg's on the ground. So I'm going to be here, I'm pushing back, only as far as my hips going back. It's not about getting down to the bell. It's just about pushing back at the hip. I'm going to push through the ground and squeeze up. It's a big difference between what is right, pushing through the ground and squeezing up, and standing up, loosey-goosey. Very targeted, very specific way we want to stand. We want to push the heel in the ground, straighten the leg, and lock at the knee, squeeze the cheek. Here's what it looks like from this side. Again, focus on my hip. That's what we're looking at, is getting crease at the hip. So here, reaching back to counterbalance with my outside leg. Actually, I was reaching with the wrong hand there. The reason we reach for the opposite hand is it's actually the proper component to the gait cycle. When we step with our offside foot, or our left foot in this instance, our right arm should be swinging forward. Very similar action, should be well patterned, especially if you're working with athletes. So there you have that. That's your single leg reach. So those are your two prep movements. Protocols for those should be about 8 to 12 repetitions with the single leg reach, and a few firings and into the planks with the plank movement. Planks just to get them aware of what their glutes are doing. Next movement, simple deadlift. I like to use a kettlebell. It's a very versatile, mobile implement. The thing where people really mess up with this is they squat instead of moving into a deadlift, and I'm going to show you the difference. The way to kind of prevent that is to set up well in front of the kettlebell. It's going to force you to move your hips back and to not bend the knees so much. So good tall chest. I'm going to push my knees wide as I go down, a lot of weight on my heels. I'm just going to touch for the first couple repetitions. And this is a good lead-in before you get, if you got kids or clients that are not used to picking up weights like this. So hips back, bend the knees at the very last instance. A good cue is there should be a lot of tension in the hamstring. Here, touch, drive back through. So it's all at the hips, and bend the knee for this last little bit, and come back up. I call this a deadlift touch and then lift. So then I'm going to lift on this repetition, I'm reaching back, pushing my hips forward and squeeze the buns. There. Replace it back. Again. There. Place it back. I'm going to show you from front on. Moved in front. Reaching straight back. Good posture. We're not rounding upper back. Squeezing through. And back up. This is a very good basic to intermediate drill for teaching people and athletes how to use their glutes.